All right, welcome back to episode number 46 of Happy Hour with Heather and Guest. I'm that other dude, Andrew. As always, I'm joined by Heather.
Hello.
Good to be back. That's a nice T-shirt you're wearing.
Thank
We're
you.
the two of us. You're holding the machine gun. I'm carrying the bullets.
Yes,
I feel like that's a nice metaphor for life.
the original HHHG
Absolutely,
logo. The first one that you made.
the first one. Yes, and I remember telling my mother what I had done and her saying, "Are you sure that people won't, be worried about a machine gun being fired, something?" And I said, "Trust me, when you see it, you'll understand that it's quite a parody. Both of our heads are way too big for the bodies."
Yeah.
Yeah. But it is all good. So, episode number 46. This was my choice today. You picked the tracks. We're going to kick things off with a band called Valkyrie, who I believe is from Virginia. I had thought I had written down the information about them, but I didn't. So I'm not going to give a place within Virginia. I'm just going to say from Virginia. I know that initially, I think one of the guitarist and lead singer, I want to say his name is Pete Adams, uh, had been in the band Baroness, and I think I'd been listening to Baroness, and I wanted to listen to other music that had a connection to Baroness, or that was the sort of the launching point. And I remember hearing, "Oh, Valkyrie, I'll check them out," and uh, and then we'll get into the song that I found and what hooked me on Valkyrie. But let's kick things off. This is their debut album, also titled Valkyrie, and the first track is called Withered Tree.
It has a traditional doom and classic metal sound, lots of great guitar riffs. I did notice that they're from your neck of the woods. They have been playing music for a long time. This album was released in 2006. I don't even remember what I was doing in 2006. I think I was selling real estate at that time.
Gotcha. What was I in 2006? I had just, I think I was working in finance. So,
Yeah,
not,
long time ago.
yeah, a long time ago. Not something I look back on fondly. Uh, but but I'm glad Valkyrie decided to put this album out then. And Withered Tree, I also felt I sort of felt it had a stoner bluesy feel with operatic vocals, and then it dissolves into what I called an arpeggioed Leonard Skinner Allman Brothers type feel with some shredding. So if you're out there and you understand what I'm talking about, then wonderful, because I don't. But either way, it was a great jam. I enjoyed it. Next up was Lost in the Darkness.
Yeah, this song made me feel victorious, like any battle you have going on, any inner demon, you're going to war and you're going to win. The album cover is it's a horse and what looks like a warrior princess. They're red sleigh. This song fits the image perfectly, and especially with the drums that sound like galloping hooves and dual cars, which I thought were really awesome.
Yeah, well, a Valkyrie is a winged female warrior, I think. So that like sort of like an Amazonian warrior, but winged, I think. And Lost in the Darkness, that it sort of reminded me of the song Back in Black by AC/DC a little bit, just in terms of the start and stop feel of the song. Um, just the intro, it would be like song, pause, song pause, song sort of like Back in Black, um, and then a heavy stoner riff like an ocean wave cresting over. I was really proud of that image. Uh, and then there's some time signature changes, which I liked, and a side head nod about halfway through, and then some progressive elements, and the tempo sped up a little bit. So I sort of liked how they were playing with time changes here. And yeah, that's the end of the self-titled album Valkyrie, and then we're on to Man of Two Visions. And the first track is Dawn Tide's Breeze.
Yeah, you had asked to include this song, so I can't wait to hear what you have to say about it. I really like how he sings about destroying the hatred in your heart and filling it up with love and believing in your own destiny. The album has a much warmer sound, I thought. The tone is awesome. If you but when you retweet when I retweeted your tweet about Valkyrie, Jessie May commented that she commented on how much she likes Valkyrie. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah, I liked that she is a fan of Valkyrie. It makes
Yeah,
sense because they're a great band. So she
yeah.
has good taste. Um, for Dawn Tide's Breeze, this was the song that had initially hooked me. I remember I was listening I was listening to it on repeat, and I was standing in line for a catered lunch. I think it was the end of school. It was a faculty work day, and I think they had ordered like Chipotle or something. So we were all the teachers were in the midst of finishing up grading, and we were waiting in line for lunch. And I had my headphones on, and the art teacher asked what I was listening to. And I was like, Dawn Tide's Breeze by Valkyrie, just an epic riff. And I think he looked at me like, why did I bother asking you? Um, but I also liked the lyric, destroy the hatred in your heart and fill it up with all the love. You must believe in your own destiny. I really liked the the lyrical output of this jam. And it had a really classic rock feel to it. Like I feel like this Dawn Tide's Breeze would come on just after More Than a Feeling by Boston. It had that same sort of anthemic feel to it. And then next up was Man of Two Visions.
Yeah, this is very soulful. The singer sounded like he was bearing his soul, and the music is very contemplative and soulful too. There's a smooth bass line, and the drums start coming in, and then the guitar goes off with some incredible playing. This is my favorite song. I think the vocals in this song are just amazing.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think I only would listen to Dawn Tide's Breeze. I don't think I gave the rest of the album much thought. So I was really glad that we were going to do a deep dive on their whole catalog because I was like, the band is clearly more than just this one song. And I do that sometimes. I'll get stuck on one song from a band and I'll kind of disregard the rest of their catalog. So so that was good. So Man of Two Visions, I wrote it was an indescribable riff. I couldn't, there's certain riffs where the words just come to me like, oh yeah, this is a walking riff or this is a whatever. This riff I couldn't describe. And then it became a riff where I just wanted to run up to people on the street and put my headphones on and say, listen to this. Like it became a riff like that. I felt like this was the most bluesy of the songs we've listened to so far and the most epic. It may have become my favorite. I wrote that down too. This one may have become my favorite. And then there's some tasteful soloing, sort of like, again, with like pull out just enough to win type stuff, like Milton Berle. And then the tempo picks up the speed, and I feel like it's when, like in the movie Anchorman, when Will Ferrell's playing jazz flute and he says, let's take this for a walk. I felt like the musicians with this song were like, let's take this for a walk. And then I wrote the phrase galloping horses. So yeah, so Man of Two Visions may have moved into the number one slot for me as well.
Yeah, it's a great song.
So as much as I was enamored with Dawn Tide's Breeze, perhaps there's a new sheriff in town. So next up was the album Shadows, and the track was called Wintry Plains.
I really love that album art on this album. It looks like birds gathering sticks, and then there's a skull. And I saw lots of people commented on how much they do like the album art, the artwork. I also like that the guitarists are brothers, um, Pete and Jake Adams. If you love guitar-focused rock with a hat tip to classic rock and doom, then this is definitely the band to listen to.
Thank you for saying hat tip. You gave me an opportunity to do that. Yeah, Wintry Plains, I said it felt like it was the sludgiest while still being stoner. It was like sludgy stoner. And then the distortion subsides and you get a melodic somber finger picking, which I thought was a really nice counterbalance. It sort of stripped away the distortion. Um, but yeah, I mean, what's really cool is that while the band fits within the umbrella of sort of stoner doom, they're doing a lot more than just those two elements. And it feels like each album they're adding new dimensions, which is really cool. Next up was a track called Carry On.
Carry On. Yeah. This is beautiful. The It goes into the realm beyond the veil, our spirits linger on. And though your earthly time has come to its end, you know your voice will carry on. And when the silver cord is cut, leave all the world behind. Coming stars and shining lights in the sky, you know your voice will carry on, carry on. If music can do anything, it can help you cope.
Absolutely. Yeah, again, I'm glad you with Dawn Tide's Breeze, because I'd heard it so many times, I knew the lyrics, but I always like when you do a deep dive on the lyrics and talk about lyrical analysis. For this one, I wrote it was epic riffing with dual guitars. I mean, there's been dual guitars on these tracks, but this time it was in the focus for me. And then it had a spacey sort of psychedelic feel to it. This was I didn't really hear that in many of the other tracks, but this time it was like, oh, let's have another dimension of spacey psychedelia, as well as the combination with the previous elements. So it was cool that they didn't just disregard who they were and all of a sudden become a psych band, but yeah, it was great how they just keep introducing these new facets. So next up, we have the final album, Fear. They're very prolific, and the first track is called Fear and Sacrifice.
Yeah, I saw that this album was recorded at Earth Analog in Illinois, so I thought that was pretty cool. I thought the song sounded more on the progressive side to me. The whole style of the song is different, and I really like the different ways that the guitar is played throughout the song. The dual guitar aspect is really great. And again, the fact that they're brothers, I just think that is really neat.
Yeah, this one I said was more melodic, with continued impressive playing within a stoner framework. This had a unique style, and for some reason, it reminded me of Duran Duran. Not that it sounded like Duran Duran at all, but I think for some reason I got the feel of like some of their tracks some of their heavier tracks, like "Hungry Like the Wolf" or something. I think that I mean I don't have more details, but the final track on Fear is "Brings You Down."
Yeah, and this song is more subdued. It starts out slow and melodic, kind of a nice change. It picks up a bit about halfway through, and the guitar and the drums get really fast. Then towards the end, it slows down and gets melodic again. I like that it has a lot of different elements within the song.
Yeah, this one I just wrote it was a ballad, a melancholy ballad. This band can really do it all. So many facets to the music, and they keep adding more elements, pick up the pace, and increase the intensity. So it was great. We got a really nice cross section, I feel, of all they're capable of, from ballads to sludgy and everything in between. So if you're looking, I mean, and from what I've seen in terms of their social media presence, they're a pretty big band. So if you're looking for a great contemporary big band that you may not be as familiar with, definitely check out Valkyrie. That would be my suggestion.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, definitely.
and they probably should be bigger than they are. I don't know how big they are, but based on the music they play, they should be bigger than.
I thought I saw they're on Relapse Records. I thought I saw I thought maybe their last couple records were on Relapse Records.
It might. I mean, it might be, and they might be huge, and I might be, speaking out of turn. But just it seems like they deserve a place within the pantheon. So
Yeah, yeah.
um, so next up, we've got two other bands whose names are going to be a little bit more difficult to pronounce. It's either I'm going to say Baardvader or Stiu Nu Stiu. So, do you have a choice which one we discuss?
Let's do Baardvader.
Okay, so it's spelled Baardvader. So it could be Baardvader or Bardva. I'm not sure. They're from The Hague, Netherlands, and the album I listened to is called Foolish Fires.
Yep, that's what I listened to also.
Okay, so what did you
Yeah,
think?
yeah, and yeah, we're going around the world again today. um, I don't like comparing bands to other bands, but I couldn't help. I couldn't help but notice the Alice in Chains influence here. I say that with love because Alice in Chains is one of my most favorite bands of all time. Um, I think this record is awesome. I think the vocals are really what did it for me. His voice is like an added instrument. Can be powerful and soft with a great range. They say they're a fuzz rock band, which is it's a subgenre of stoner rock. Down-tuned heavy guitar and a thick and dense sound. I like to think of guitar pedals and amps and a fuzzy guitar sound, like fuzzy guitars. It's not completely dense and heavy, though. It does have a lightness to it, and I think it's the vocals that do that. I really like their sound, and I think this album is really good.
Yeah, this is one where I'll read what they wrote on Bandcamp. I always like to do that. So they wrote a fuzz rock three-piece inspired by 70s and 90s bands mixed with stoner elements. They create a familiar but unique sound presented in a modern way. After years of playing in and out of different bands, Baardvader returns to the essence of rock by injecting new energy into the genre. So it was interesting to hear afterward the 70s and 90s because as you had mentioned, there was definitely some grunge Alice in Chains influence in there, as well as a lot of the thicker 70s sounds. So, but when I heard this, like with Slow Green Thing, I was like, I'm hooked. Let me put this album on the playlist right now and see what else Baardvader has. So I immediately became a fan of the music, and I had only listened to Foolish Fires. I know they have a self-titled album as well, so I'm planning on doing another deep dive. But great stuff, especially if you're into that sort of down-tuned, fuzzy, grungy sound. And then we've got it's STIU. Next word is NU. Last word is STIU. I'm gonna say Stiu Nu Stiu or Stiu Nu Stiu. I am not sure. Someone is probably rolling their eyes somewhere. But the album I listened to is called New Sun.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
what'd you think of New Sun?
And then they're from Sweden.
Mm-hmm.
I want to thank our friend Sasha from the band Corroding Sun for recommending this album. I'm so glad we're discussing it. Besides being a great musician and artist, Sasha reviews music for a European magazine. So whenever he recommends something, I just know it's going to be good, and I always take the time to listen to it. This band is different. It was hard for me to categorize. Their tags on Bandcamp are alternative, darkened indie rock, metal, post-punk, and goth. I'm not that familiar with the goth genre, but I can see that fitting as well as post-punk. The vocals are haunting. The music is dark and mystical. There's a whole vibe to it. This is the perfect record for October. It would be a great soundtrack for a dark and atmospheric horror movie. I saw that they have a few other albums too, so I'm definitely going to go back and check out their other albums. I really like the fusion of art and music, and this has an avant-garde and also a cerebral quality to it.
Yeah, I did not know that Sasha had reviewed them. So I'll have to go back and read what he wrote. But yeah, this was interesting because they were really difficult to kind of pin. Every time I felt like I knew what the genre I should use to describe them, they would sort of incorporate a different element that contrasted what I had thought. And then I read probably the perfect description of them from an article on the website Everything is Noise. The author wrote, elegantly blooming into a wonderful kaleidoscope, illustrating shades and hues of psych, doom, and post-punk that coalesce together into this uncanny yet wonderful oral connection. So, or sorry, not oral concoction. So, yeah, I mean, if you enjoy psych, doom, goth, post-punk, alternative, noise rock with really dark subject matter but light, it's cool how they have such paradoxical elements. You know, beautiful operatic vocals combined with something that you feel should be in the shadows. So really well done. And yeah, like when you said this would be the perfect album for October, I feel like that's the best way to put it. This is like for the month of Halloween, for the month of Halloween, for the month in which Halloween falls, perfect album.
Yeah.
So, and yeah, they had like 9 albums on Bandcamp, so I will definitely be doing a deep dive on them, on Baardvader, and I'll probably go back and listen to more of the tracks on Valkyrie that we didn't even discuss because they are kick-ass.
Yeah.
And
Very much.
Yes, sorry I cut you off. Um, I know I should have said it about 25 minutes ago, but if you haven't done so yet, hit pause, go listen to the playlist that Heather has cobbled together for us, and listen to all these jams. See if we're right.
Yeah.
A lot of the time, I throw out terms that in the moment made sense, but if I listen to the song again, maybe they don't. So see what you think of all these bands. Stiu Nu Stiu, Baardvader, Valkyrie. I will be adding all of them to my playlist. So, and yeah, Heather, this is always a pleasure. I'm glad you enjoyed the music.
Yes, and good choices. Very good
Thank you,
choices.
thank you. Yeah, and we'll be back next week. The shoe will be on your foot this time.
Yes. And I have I'm gonna do something completely different next week. So
Okay.
be
Oh, and
prepared.
yes, I will be prepared. And also, October 22nd, later this month, will be our first annual live stream festival. So be on the lookout for the starting times as soon as we
Yeah.
figure them out. But
Yes.
thank you as always, and enjoy the music, and have a good evening.
You too. Thank you.